Hello Art 1-2 and welcome to your straight hair demonstration. So what you want to do first is you do want to kind of outline roughly where your highlights are. So I kind of give myself a general kind of outline of where the highlights are because we're going to avoid that in the very beginning. So I am following the notes that are in the Google Classroom, the procedure shading notes, and there's a hair section. And so it says if you have detailed contour outline, do the background first and the hair will overlap. So if I had like this kind of hair where I have hair kind of going into the negative space or little flyaways, I would do the background first. For this one, her hair is pretty slick and the contour outline is pretty simple. So therefore, I could do the hair first and then do the background. But if you have hair overlapping, like for curly hair, this one, definitely do the background first. All those little pieces that have to overlap. Okay, so you're going to start out with newspaper padding. And I'm going to use 6B pencil, and we're just going to add a layer to create the darker tone of the hair. If you have lighter hair, you can use old school wooden pencil so that your first layer still stays fairly light. So I am going to use the whole side of the graphite. I'm not aiming for perfection for this, but I am going to kind of do some like sweeping, kind of longer strokes, depending on how long your hair is. And I'm looking how she has like, oh, sorry, can you see? Hold on. There we go. Then you can see both. She has like a little bit of a highlight section right here. And so I'm taking notice of that. And I'm going to put in that darker, kind of outlining it a little bit. Putting in that darker chunk. Okay, so even though her hair gets lighter at the bottom, I'm just going to adjust my pressure. And you can go off. If your hair is long and it goes off the page, just go right into the border. It's fine. We just don't want any weird kind of... So I am looking like, okay, so there's some darker kind of sections in between the highlights. I'll add a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit on the highlight. Okay, so then I'm gonna do another layer where it's darkest. So it's pretty dark next to her face on that side. Okay, at the top, it's darker where it grows out. A little darker along the top of her hair. I'm not going to be so concerned with the perfect outline. We'll perfect it with mechanical pencil in the last layers. Okay, then I'm looking at, okay, according to like where her nose is, where the... So I'm going to pull up into the highlight a little bit. And then this side just gets darker anyway. Pull up into the highlight. Okay, so I am noticing, well, it's hard to tell in this picture, but she has a slight highlight on one side. So you can add just like a few touches of a highlight just to kind of show overlap of hair. And look in the mirror. Look at a different picture that has similar lighting as your hair. Okay, but all in here, it's pretty dark. So I would actually, when you get close to the face, actually give yourself a clean contour edge. We'll clean up that edge. Okay. So using the whole side of the graphite. And then I'm going to go back and put some line in there. And actually this is fairly light. We'll perfect that later. Let me just add a little bit of line where that is. Okay. So then with the large blender, you're going to come back and blend in the direction of the hair. So long, kind of streaky. can go over the highlights a little bit. They'll still show, like I can still see where it is. And everything looks bad at first, so don't freak out after you spend all that time shading your face and your clothes and probably the background. Okay, the rest is off padding. So I'm going to remove my padding. I need something underneath my hand. I'm going to start over here at the top. 6B. Okay. So now the first 2 layers are the most important layers. So if you do 2 really good layers, the 3rd and 4th layer is just kind of fixing and refining. Actually, sorry, I have this. Let me see where this piece is. Yes, that chunk. There's that darker chunk. Actually, it does curve and then kind of come down. It's like that highlight piece. I feel like I blended over that. Okay, so even though your hair is long, you're still gonna do some like short or longish or mid-length, I guess it could also be. You're not just gonna be like line, line, line. Don't do that. You wanna do some short kind of sweeping motion to kind of blend in the hairs, because not all of your hairs are the same length. And I'm gonna do a little bit in the highlight. And then I can go back and kind of fill in with some longer ones. But you wanna start out with some shorter kind of sweeping motion. And I am not being gentle. Like, I'm actually pressing hard, and I would come up on the border if your hair just goes up onto the border or into the border. Okay, so over here, I'll probably lighten pressure because our hair is lighter down here, but I'm still gonna do layers of sweeping motion. Move that out of the way. Just be careful of your sleeve in your hand. I just wanted to get... But this is under my hand, so use something underneath your hand. Okay, so I'm being a little more precise about where I can kind of see some darker value. And we'll erase out a little bit as well. Mix in some longer strand. All the way down. Okay, on the other side, same. But I'm gonna pay a little closer attention to how it grows out of the head. And if there's any like slightly darker chunks of hair fading into the highlights. Which she does have. Okay, slightly darker along the edge. So I'm gonna do just a couple, length and direction for the hair in this first round in the highlight. Okay, so then this part is darker, so I'm gonna fade up into the highlight and kind of down a little bit, up and down, so that it doesn't, like your lines all don't end in one location. So remember, the first layer is the most important layer. Do a really good first layer. You won't have to go back as much. It'll save you time. It actually saves you time. And it looks better. So do more than you think you need, more than you want to do. large blender. Then I would change to my medium blender and get a little more precise in this round, like along the edges. Okay, I'm gonna erase out the highlight. So I'm gonna be a little, oops, all right, let me do that. A little more precise about where the highlight is. So with pink eraser or mechanical pencil eraser, and then you can kind of draw back in any areas. So I'm just gonna do a couple where it's darker, just because she has some slight highlights. And then she does have like this area of her scalp showing. So I'm gonna pull that back out and kind of fade it into the hair. I would say just have it match your skin tone. Okay, so she has a lighter chunk here. I'm just doing some in the dark part. Okay, lighter part. I kind of erase out where the brightest part of the highlight is. Okay, then I'm gonna fade highlight up into the dark part. Paying a little closer attention to what I'm doing. Okay, down into the hair. And I'm not pressing very hard. I am holding my pencil in the middle. Okay, a little bit along that piece that kind of flows over. Okay, so the last layer is the really good layer with mechanical. And you would add mechanical into the highlight a little bit. And I'm gonna really look for like pulling little chunks of hair up into the highlight. I'm not gonna do this over her whole head because once you kind of see this, like you get it. And then like here, the hair's growing out a little bit darker. So I'm gonna be more precise. And in the highlight part, I'm gonna do a couple strands and then we'll go back and erase that part out. So I would do a whole layer of mechanical and you're not really gonna blend this. So this is like your last layer of line, do a good job. This is where if you have little baby hairs, like she has some kind of growing out there along the edge, I would add those, kind of clean up the edge. If you have any like pieces that like flyaways, you can add those. And then do that everywhere. And then in the last layer, I would erase back out the highlight, kind of fade down. And I would use my last layer with mechanical. Okay, so you do another round of erasing out. And then a super thin line or super thin layer of line on top if your hair is darker, just to kind of tone it down a little bit. And then if you see areas that need to be even darker, add like some little hairs in there. Add another layer. So 2 really good layers with 6B, erase out your highlights in every layer, and then 2 layers of mechanical pencil, and your last layer don't blend. And then for your last layer of highlight, add a few strands very gently of sweeping line in so it looks like hair. Okay, so make sure you do the 4 layers. It will look good when you're done. All right, good luck.